Good morning, and welcome to Planner Craft. Ian was sleeping on.
Tracy, Linda and Deb this morning so far that said hello.
Hi Tracy, Linda and Deb. So today I'm going to be doing a bit on stencils and templates and what's the difference between them. And this follows Deb's question about French curves and what are they. So I thought I would go through a bit of a process and try and teach you a little bit about each one and what to look for.
We have Carol and Louise.
Hi Carol, hi Louise.
And Sally. And Valerie.
Hi Sally, Valerie.
I haven't seen Valerie for a while.
No.
And Carol Marchant. Rachel.
Hi Rachel, hi Carol.
Deb. Oh, different Deb. Two Debs. Two Debs, two Carols.
Okay, so to start today I have some nice smooth stamping card.
Two Traces.
So it's nice and easy to use our stencils.
You got another Tracy joining.
Okay.
Beatrice.
Hello, hello. Has Mum joined yet?
No, it's in your mum.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by working with a stencil. So stencils tend to be thinner plastic. And my top tip for working with stencils is to stick to pencil rather than trying to use a pen, as it will smudge really easily if you try and use a pen through them. So especially as you're getting used to them, or if you have a brand new pen that likes to be nice and inky, chances are it's going to smudge. So usually what I do with this particular stencil is I would use a watercolour pencil, but you're not going to be able to see that very clearly. So I'm going to be working just with pencils and fine liners today.
Eva says hello.
Hi Eva. So here's Manning comments, so if you have any questions as we go through, don't forget you can always ask him. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just my jawline, and I'm going to use this as kind of the reference point for my drawing.
Dave says good morning too.
Morning. And I think I'm going to go just above the centre line of my page, and I'm just going to draw around the inside. So you'll notice I'm not going all the way around the stencil, I'm just doing it as a little guide. Okay, so I know some of you have these stencils, but when you want to start pushing them a bit further forward rather than necessarily taking them line for line, you can actually start to work with them a bit more. So our eyes, you want to put so they're level with our ears.
Yeah, we have Darcy as well this morning.
And if you don't overly like the shape, or if you want to do something a bit different, you can just do a few little markers so we can actually dot through our stencil too. We can give ourselves a little guide, so just done a little line across there so that I know roughly where the arch of the eyes go, and I'll do a little bit bottom here, and I'll put in a bit for the pupil and the outline of the iris. So I'll do the same over here, so across the top, little dot there, little dot there, and I'll put a little bit under here too. Okay, so I have something that looks like that. Do you want to just zoom in a bit more, Ian? Oh, App Store's jumping up and down as well. App Store's jumping up and down as well.
Yeah, I just have to for a bit.
Oh, back that way a bit. There we go.
How's that?
Perfect. Okay, so we've got a rough guide for our eyes, and we can do the same for the nose. So I'm just going to put a little dash there, and a little dash at the bottom, like so. And I'm going to go for the slightly smaller mouth for this one. So again, I'm just going to dot the outside corners. I've done a little bit just there at the joint between the lips, a little bit at the top, and I'm then going to do a little line just there. So just on that top edge. There we go. Hang on. So far we have a face really quickly. We can put that to one side. So while stencils have a totally flat profile, so if I do a little sketch just here, so stencils will literally go like that for an edge. Templates tend to have more of an angled edge like this. Okay, so for something like this template here where it's all symmetrical, most people will be tempted to go, right, okay, that's the way up to use it, and off I go with my ink pen and move it and smudge. So the way to really use them is upside down. Okay, so if you think about it so that you are keeping that ink line away from that stencil so you're not going to smudge, and then you should be able to lift it up nice and easily without breaking the line. While you're using a pencil it really doesn't matter, but if you're going to be lining something, which we will be doing in a bit, that's something to be aware of. So let's go and finish off some of these lines. So I'm actually going to use my oval to kind of bridge the gap. So with our eyes, we can actually kind of offer it up and then go, that's too curved, let's go to the next one. That's okay there. So remember which one you're using, so I'm going to be using 18, and I can actually trace that arch. Okay, so I'm going to do the same over here, same oval, and we can, let's get that in quite the right place, just there. Okay, so at this point you're doing it kind of manually, but now for the French curves. So if our template has this edge, our French curves, ideally, not all of them do, but ideally has a profile like this. So it actually has so ideally your French curve will have a profile like this. So that means that you can use it up either way without smudging. And what we can do is, let's say we do something like that eyes, and I'm just going to take that line back out so you can see it a bit better. Okay. I'm going to do this with a pen. Let's go for these Mia hoo-hoos. Okay. So with your French curves, you have lots and lots of unusual curves that you can work through. So if you're going, oh, that needs to be a bit tighter, and every single one in the pack has a different curve. But when you find the one that matches what you want to do, and this is much easier if you can get up and over the top of it, which is what I'm trying to do. So I just want to go like that. You can give it a notch on the actual stencil, like so. Okay. Then you know that as you're drawing round, so there's my one notch, I can then take those two notches, flip it over, line it up on the same dots over here, because we did our dots through our stencil, and then we can draw that same arch this side, like so. Okay. So French curves are really useful for when you have something that you know is symmetrical but not quite symmetrical. So because we know this curve of this eye isn't necessarily going to be a perfect oval, we can use our French curves instead. They're also a really good way of starting to think about, dare I say it, nodes too. So it's another one of those, if you want to practice your nodes, you can actually scan one of these in and actually trace it with your pen tool, and it actually teaches you so much about nodes, because you can start to move them around and see where they fit better, so you can get as fewer nodes for your design as possible. And because it's got this profile, we know that using this pen is not as much. So that's one way that we can use French curves. But let's say we want to do some hair. So I'm just going to grab a nice big pencil. So you can go for a woodless pencil like this. You can go for a pilot pencil. Basically anything where you've got nice wide lead to it. So this one is pretty, I'm sure it's pretty cheap to get hold of this particular one. The Progresso woodless pencil, if you want to have a look. And you can put the pilot one up as well if you can find it. I'll spell it out for you. Okay, so it's Croquis, which is C-R-O-Q-U-I-S.
Okay, that's by
Pilot.
what's the other one?
Kohinoor woodless pencil.
Kohinoor.
Yeah, Kohinoor. So the benefit of using something that has a wider lead to it is you can do much softer sketching. So if you're not sure that your hand is steady enough to do a perfect curve, that's okay. We can just go straight in and we can just start doing. Okay, so I'm going to start taking a little bit of hair round at this top here. Okay, so as we start to come around here, we know that that curve is going to want to change. So you can see already we've got the crossover of lines, but that doesn't matter because we're going to use our French curve to sort out all our lovely sketch lines in a minute. So let's give her some curly hair, because that's going to make your curves work a lot harder. So let's bring a little bit around here. So I'm going to make her hair a bit longer than what I planned it in the first place. So let's go down this way.
So the first one is the Kohinoor woodless pencils.
And I might even give a little bit of a curl this way for a fringe too. And that one this kind of way.
What size is yours?
For which?
Crocus.
It's a B.
That's okay. Oh, I see.
And it relates to the lead, not the size.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a B. And the Kohinoor pencils is 6B. So nice and soft, so you can get quite dark with it.
Yeah, the Kohinoor's a 4-pack. So. Hello, Karen Louise.
Okay.
Maybe just Karen. I can't see what you're doing at the bottom. If you can move it.
Okay. Do you want to zoom back? Oh, let me see if I can.
Could you?
There we go. There we go. So I've drawn in some nice loose curls.
And the second one is the pile of crocus.
And I'm going to put a little line across for a top. Awfully long neck. I might just take that up a little bit so it looks a little less.
Tracy says you can be my hairdresser and that hair looks lovely.
Another life. Let's do these shoulders a little higher, just so she doesn't look like a giraffe. Okay, so we can even come back in and just do a little bit of work on this jaw. Okay, so your French curves usually come in packs of 3. So if you think about your big one being kind of your long flowing hair, then as you go down a size, you're going to find that it's going to be more suitable for things like your jaw, your neck and your shoulders. So sort of mid-length curves. And then for your really detailed bits, your smallest sizes. So I have 2 here, so I actually had 2 sets, but for whatever reason, the big one in that one's gone missing, hasn't it?
It has for now. Yeah. Not sure what it was.
So you can see how different they are. So this one's got the proper profile, which is this little notch one here. And this one has the usually cheaper angled one. So it still has a little bit of a ledge that you can draw your guideline on. Okay. Thinking what's going tink tink tink. So let's do a bit more detail on this face, and then we can start to ink everything in then. So we've already started to ink in the top line of our eye. Now I can start to pick out a few more details. So bear in mind what I was saying about making sure you're the right way up. I'm going to do a little bit just there. And can do the same just there. Okay. So if you need to at this point, I'm just going to swap to a circle template just so I can get. So I'm going to go for about 4. Sometimes it's easier to measure it with the wrong way up as well. So I just want to go in there. And So we can do the same for our iris because we know it's going to be a circle, even though that circle goes both above and below our lash line.
And your bottom one is a link for a French curve if anybody's interested in it. It's curry normal as well.
You found a Kohinoor one, have you? Okay, so with the eye, I'm going to try and make sure that I get my pupil in the middle, even if that isn't necessarily what the original stencil said. Just so, yeah, let's get that way up for that one. If anybody's interested in the pens, they're the Hoo ones. So for that line there, because it's so little, it's easy enough to do it by freehand. So now let's go for this one. So this is the littlest curve, and I'm just moving it round, and as you move towards the end, it's going to get curlier and curlier, if that makes sense. So a bit more, just so that I can get, that's it, just there. So I'm going to give it a little notch, just there, and another one just there. Okay, so with these it's a bit more fiddly because we're going upside down, and we can just follow that round to that point. So when you do it this side, you're going to want to go really careful to try and keep that ink from going underneath your template. There we go. So I'm just going to clean off those marks. So they do clean off really easily. And then I can go to that next bit. So I'm almost using the previous line at the top of the eye as a guide, so that's going to sit on this bit here. Then just a little dash like that. Okay. I'm going to flip it over. And again, I'm going to use that same bit and flick it. Okay. So bear with me in one moment until he comes back to do comments. Okay. So I'm going to use this tiny little bit in the middle of my curve just to get right in there. Let's do swapsies and go for this one. And it's all about doing little tiny bits sometimes until you can get that curve round to where you want to go. So as I said, it is easier if you can get right over the top. So that you can see where you're going. Okay, so something not quite as curly as that for this next bit. So I'm going to try and use this bit in here. So I'm going to go just down like that. I'm going to flip it over and like that. Now we've got our 2 points for the outside of our mouth, and we can choose whether we're just going to do a curve straight down, or if you want to do a bit more of a curve than a curve that way. So I think I'm going to get this little tiny bit just here, and let's just take that bit there. Flip it over. Take that bit around there. Then we're going to take our curve back the other way. So from that dot, we're going to go up. Not quite got it where I wanted that. There we go. Ooh, those bits are turned up. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to use this lip bit just in here for the bottom of the lip, and then these bits are going to kind of gently curve back in the other direction. So we can just flick it over. From there. And we'll take it from there. Okay. So I'm going to just take this line. I'm just going to do that to it, just so it looks a little bit more like she's got a lip. Now let's at least make her smile, because she's looking quite severe. So if we take these outside points, and sometimes you never see it come together until you put some colour into it. With a nose, I'm going to draw around and just slowly join up these points. Now for the fun bit. Let's get on with the hair. Let's go for the big curls first. So we can see if we go for this side, we've got this length here. So I'm not going to take it too far up top, but for this first section here, that is more or less smack on. So this is the other way of using your French curves, where you already have a guideline underneath and you're kind of making your French curve fit rather than the other way around. It's really good if you have a bit of a shaky hand, like I do on Sundays. Ooh, can't show those. Took me a while then for it to click what it was. That's bad. You know you're having a bad day when. Okay, so I've gone down a size just to get this little bit of this curl in here. So, like so. And the other thing to bear in mind is, the reason why I have two sets is every set of French curves is different. There is no set format for them as well. So you could have probably 3 different sets and they'd all still have different bits of curve that you might want to use. So I've got this big long section down here. So I know that this bit starts off fairly straight and it's going to get curlier towards the bottom. So you're going to want to put your straight bit towards top and curlier towards the bottom. Even if it's not exactly accurate, you'll have started that flow, that curve right. What's that?
Take it off the screen, just pop me pictures off
You're going to have to move the camera then, Ian, because this is a big, long French curve. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit in that section. And then the rest of that curve we're going to want to do is something tighter. So next I want to do this curve down here. And again, let's go this way, just because it's got a bit more of that roundedness up here. So again, we can just go like so, up to that point where it starts to turn away from the curve. And we can do the same with this bit too. So let's go in here, we'll follow it through. We'll do the same for the next bit. So we know that as this bit is curved, this bit won't be as curved, so that it's starting to get thicker. So we can start to move it upwards, like so. And we can even do another curve that's just in there. So let's go to our middle one, and let's go this way first. So first of all, I'm just going to sort out this bit in here. So that bit's going to come there. And we can do a little bit just there. And then if we flick it over, we can see that that curve in here actually fits this curve really nicely. So we can start to use that. And it's a case of joining the dots. Okay. So a bit more curve. You also want to be aware of making sure that you don't get a sudden kink in this line too. So I'm going to take this line here, start to take it down towards that point, and I'm going to stop. Now this curve here is an S curve, so we can start to use that to see how we can join 2 points together so that they flow nicely. So an S curve is the equivalent of 2 nodes with handles in the opposite direction. And I'm going to put another bit of hair because we've got this kind of thick bit here. We can actually draw that curve up towards that top bit, like so. Okay, so we've got that curve in there. I'm going to just move it up a little bit so that we have, oh, don't do that, I slipped. So don't worry, you can always fix the slips. No. No. And it's at this point I'm going to really miss not having the other one to that one. Because I could do with a larger S. So as I said, they all have their uses. So So I'm going to have to do this in a few little bits just to get it where I want it to. So for starters, I'm going to use the end of my curve, and I'm going to make sure that I miss my hair. So skip that bit.
This has got to go, but she'll check later to see how she turns out.
Okay. Like that. Then let's go for this bit in here. So I just want to use that straighter bit of the curve. So it goes like so. Okay. So now we can join these bits here. Oh, I might do. What would everybody like to see me colouring with? Because we've got a few options. So these pens are suitable for alcohol, colour pencils. These are all a bit too soft for that bit. That looks promising. Okay, so there's going to be a bit that's going to come in front of that, so let's go around there, around there, a little bit more, so move it slightly around there, and maybe a little bit more just to catch that one, so there. A little bit more there. So you can see then we've got room to allow this next curl to come up. Yeah, that bit looks a little bit bigger, so let's go for that one. So it is useful to have the 2 or 3 sets of these. But I do find them quite therapeutic to work with. So I'm just twisting my curve slowly. So we're starting to get a little bit more detail in our line work. And one more from measure. So then we have another curl happening just here. So again, we can draw in another one. It's an 01. I had to think though. But any fine liner will do. Some are better than others, but if you do a swatch test first, especially if you're going to be using things like alcohol markers. Okay. So just because we're starting to get into kind of the barrel of the curl, I'm just going to change tool so I start to feel that that hair has some substance. Okay, and then we can bring that curl, and I'm probably going to bring it more up this way, but we've got this other little curl just coming in here, so let's do that first. Tiny one, this one. So, again, like so. now that we've done a bit more detail on those, we might want to pop a little bit more detail on these. Let's go a bit bigger than that. Okay.
It's very quiet on the chair.
It is, isn't it? I think they've all gone to sleep. Bored them all.
Maggie's just joined us on that note of me saying it's not very quiet.
Hi Maggie. There we go. So now that we've got these curls in here, we can start to actually bring that up into her hair. So let's go for middle first. Yeah. So I'm gonna use my French curve just to bring that around there a bit. Maybe start to twist that round. So it's going to come back around this way. And let's put a little bit of a swoosh back in there. We can start to do a bit more shading this way too. Now, I'm going to start to use that S curve, see how we're going to join up those lines.
Maggie says she teaches dressmaking and pattern cutting, so use the curves all the time. It's nice to see something I recognise.
Yeah.
A lot for dressmaking.
Yeah, well, let's face it, that's why originally I had mine, wasn't it? Way back in the day. And then I started using them when I went across to graphics as well. Yep, it is one of those transferable skills, you're quite right. What's that?
Deb says she's just enjoying the calming voice and gentle process. It's taken her mind off the dentist appointment.
It would take far more than my calming voice to take my mind off that, wouldn't it? Ooh. I know how painful those can be, don't I, Dean? Yeah. Same time, wasn't it? Wasn't good. I think we were trying to do too much at the time though, weren't we?
Yeah, so we get that sorted out.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just a case of some antibiotics and see if we can get rid. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. Now we've got this kind of hollow in here, so we need to connect this curl to something. At the moment it's just kind of floating in midair. So if we try and link it back with our curve, so even though we're not going to be drawing this bit, I'm still making sure that it will link back sensibly to there, so that you have a follow through.
And I see your order's been shipped this morning. That should hopefully be with you tomorrow. If not the day after. They did send first class.
Okay, same for this bit. I'm just going to draw it so it's going to link sensibly at the bottom. And then we can start to do a little bit of line work in here. Just want to create a little bit of shading before we go too far, but I think I might struggle to get the angle right, so let's just do one in there. Like that.
Maggie, your phone should be ready today if they haven't already arrived.
I was going to say, sure, they'll already be there. They haven't got to go very far, have they? So.
Yeah, for the stuff Pete used to send.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, very far, and it took longer than something coming from.
Might just pop another little bit of a curl in there, actually. Now that you can kind of see where you're going, you can kind of go, well, actually, there's room to put another one in. So let's put one in going that way. And we can even do a little bit of a join there. So Maggie's going to be getting her French curves out and having a go at doing something a bit different later then. Seeing how it'll help her do her nose. Oh yeah, yeah, you could quill around the edge of your French curves. Wouldn't suggest taking too long to do it though. Otherwise you might melt your curve. I'm just going to put in a little hint of a curve going just down there, like that. So same again, little dash. It's the little touches like that that's going to make it look like they're individual strands rather than little clumps of hair. Okay, so we've got this bit over here. Let's see if we can... Oh, 10 minutes! You bore me now!
They put me warning half an hour ago, isn't it?
Yeah, but you could have said, you're about halfway through, Natty. What's he like? So, I want to just get that bit kind of going into this bit here so that it's got a bit more of a curve to go into. There we go. So I'm still going to keep to the tighter one, as it's going to come round for this first bit. And just here. A bit more just there. Flip that way. Then we can start to loosen up as we move up the hair. So let's go to this one. And we can start to think about how that fringe is going to be coming out this section here. But if you want it a bit more to kind of come from this parting and across, so it doesn't look like her hair's too lank, so we can do this sort of action. Yeah, or Ink Master do it too.
Yeah. They do it in hours though, don't they? Because they have like 6 hours.
Yeah.
They don't often count them. Only when you get to the second term. We could use it so they can no more ink. Yeah.
Yeah, no more ink. The things I do. Okay. So I may put in a little bit more detail into that fringe when I've raised my lines a bit. Let's go this way. That's kind of pretty much how I want that curl to go anyway. So let's go round. And we can twist it again all this way. What? Huh? Cool, by the way. Proof that the kids don't need to be at school as long as what they're forced to do. Anybody think I didn't like school much?
Now we're on to crafting. On to arts and crafts, right?
You see, I think art can actually teach you about lots of things. It can teach you about mathematics, it can teach you about science, because you learn about how gravity affects things. You learn about colour. So, let's go. I think something like that would be nice. What? You lost me. Doesn't take much.
Gosh, this is a bit fat for you, but I can see where you were going. So I didn't mind how that you were having.
I tend to use them more so if I'm doing things like drawing manga, don't I? Then I tend to, especially if you're doing like a landscape piece with lots of flowing hair, because the kind of distance that you need, you really do need a little bit of help from your French curves. Okay, just going to take that last bit round there, I think. How am I doing? How am I doing?
5 minutes.
I haven't even got a hair down here sorted yet.
No, you're going to have to finish her off with mine.
Yeah.
Colour her in tomorrow.
Yeah. So was there any preference on colouring medium?
Nope, nobody answered you.
Huh. So whatever I feel like then.
We could always do it to your vote.
That is a Friday. Okay. You do. I mean, with your votes counts, if it can do like the sort of one camera, then you could do it and do it that way. Just really long neck.
Yes, we're getting that answer because we need to run out of time.
Yeah.
So it says, I'm listening while working on the computer. So...
So we'll colour it tomorrow and you can do your white count with it. I'm just twisting to get me here. tight, isn't it? Almost, not quite. You know you're desperate when you start to look at the ovals thinking, that looks like a good idea. Let's go down to the 32, I think. Oh, stop it. I know what you're doing for my dinner now. Okay. Let's go take that all that way. And I still might put another bit of a curl just there. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. How are we doing?
You've got a minute left. I was just asking whether we'll be needing anything like this for the drawing course or just pencil and rubber.
In terms of the drawing course, if you want to have templates, I'm not going to stop you. But in terms of the pencil, something that has a slightly wider lead will be your friend when it comes to sketching. So whether you go up to the woodless or if you go for something a little bit more in the middle. What I wouldn't advise on is going full technical just yet. By going for the wider pencil, you're giving yourself kind of permission to go slightly off the line, so to speak. Okay, so I'm just going to flick down there, flick down there, and then take that up there. Oh.
It hasn't started yet.
I said I wanted to get the book done first.
Yeah.
So it's all down to me. That's what Ian's trying to say tactfully. Okay. So I'm nearly there. Okay, so a little bit of a curve just to finish off just into the bottom section here. Okay.
You're the one who said you wanted to finish at 12 because of Luke, so what are you saying?
I'm coming. There we go. So I'll finish the rest of this off stream, and then tomorrow we'll colour her in. So take care for now, and